Hey, Kiers here. A really interesting subject came up, um, called um, gentrification against blacks. I mean, this is really a difficult video for me because uh, it it it's so much information and so much that I'm interested in the subject. And two videos have been brought up by this. One by Consume Fowler and one by Got That Funk. Now this isn't one of my rant videos, but it's very close to what I talk about a lot, ranty or otherwise. And it's really hard to explain without putting the premise on that where I come from with this politically, ideologically, and as a futurist, because I have a manifesto. I don't know if it's a realistic manifesto, but it needs to be said that my views are influenced by my ideology, and that is somewhat influenced by my view of my futurism, or how I picture society would be. And to briefly delve off the subject of gentrification and to reestablish my ideological perspective so everyone understands my view on gentrification, I'll give a brief summary. Without many click words, because I don't think people are understanding the jargon I'm throwing at them. Many people have said, what is that? I don't understand that. You're using terms and jargonism that we don't get. And I've tried to research it and find the right words that hit a meaning that for that jargon that has a representative term for those, or at least one aspect of it, without having to re-roll out all the frigging whole thing again. But let me go real quick, okay? How I see the future, or a possible future America, in terms of its relationship to the world and its inner workings, is I'm an isolationist. I believe in green energy, specifically thermal depolymerization, or anything into oil. So I believe in a renewable energy society. Now, with the renewable energy society, you have to have certain aspects of a ratio of people, and if you're environmentalist like me, you also need a ratio of biodiversity of wildlife. So wildlife takes a huge space. The resources for people take a large space. Living conditions to be, and that's where we get into gentrification, have to be spread out a little bit without having urban sprawl. So that takes space. And then the hardcore hub of industrialism, non-agricultural industry, and business take up a very small space. Like Manhattan, for example, how it's basically a ghost town at night of empty office spaces. These are the things we encounter in zoning, in our society, and how zoning was set up in the 19th, 20th, and 21st century. Now, with the internet, we're starting to see dezoning. Now, let me get into gentrification. Okay, well, anyway, my idea is that... no, let me go ahead and get into excuse me. Let me not get into that right at the moment. Hold on a second. Let me not get into gentrification right at the moment. But let's talk about classes and race for a second, because that's also important in gentrification. Since the 1960s, well, 50s, into the 60s, and the advent of television and movies and radio, and an instant feedback society that developed with the internet now, and before that with movies and television and live news, you know, what we got was something McCarthy couldn't see, is that when we look at these things in the lens of scarcity, or how scarce things are, that includes information. The less scarce information is, the more of a resource it is. You see, especially when we start connecting our internet to live things that previously people had done, like dams and network power sources, things run by computer, you know. Think about everything that was run by computer before computers were there. And although tedious and horrible, the jobs they employed. You know, there's an old movie that they wheeled this semi-truck-sized freaking computer in, or at least car-sized computer in, and they make a joke about it replacing everyone in the office. 20, 30 years later, it's not a joke. You know, but then again, who wants to do all that toil when a robot can do it? It's a conundrum. And it's getting worse. You know, the robots are coming. But we'll be the ones serving them by doing the menial things, not the other way around. Now this gets into gentrification because the greater the population soars, the more the risk of a trigger effect, or that resources that are dependent upon computers, oil, and international trade for agriculture, although we could grow our own food in-house, in like huge hothouses. That's a futurist possibility. The problem is that we're sustaining too many people per country for there's about, okay, let me put it this way. There's about 7 times population. There's 6 people, I think this is correct. 6 people for every 1 person that could be sustained of subsistence farming. And when we mean subsistence farming, we mean people who need medicine, like diabetics, like myself, like cancer survivors. These people die off because you live on a farm and only the healthy survive. Sure, someone might be humane and give you a little hospice and give you a comfortable bed and tend you, as a resource that was there is no longer possible because it can't be afforded in society, for some reason collapsed. Excuse me, the frogs get to me. So it collapsed because cheap oil to power the industry, to power the man hours and the specialization of technology to give us and produce and research and supply these medicines wouldn't be there. They wouldn't be. The best you could do is offer something from like 100 to 150 years ago in care, with what we know now, so it's kind of anachronistic. Anyway, you might wonder, what has this got to do with gentrification? Well, we're having peak oil problems because of our population. Other resources strain. There's global warming. The environment is becoming dangerously unsettled, and things like bees and other things are going extinct. And this isn't just fear-mongering. Scientists say this is happening. So the problem is that not only is the oil going away, and we're stuck on a geopolitical platform that's crumbling, maybe 100 years, 150 years. And although population is plateauing, we're already having some of these struggles. Now, here's where we get into gentrification. And why, how I feel about it specifically, because I I wish I could allocate, but how I advocate certain reforms, and some of these reforms fit on my politics and my ideology, my manifesto, my futurist ideals, and how I see the future. Well, the problem with gentrification, and it's not just black versus white, but like Zoom said, it's also rich versus poor. However, one issue that hasn't been brought up, even though Zoom is gay, and he didn't bring it up, I think it's worth it to introduce it, even though it wasn't originally part of the conversation. And how it was introduced to me is it's homosexual for white men gentrifying, I don't know if that's a real word, using gentrification to displace blacks and other poor minorities in an area by buying up all the property, beautifying the area, and essentially economically displacing these people. I mean, the poor have to have a place to live. Now, as a futurist, and I've already established how I want a new society, a reallocation society with green energy, with bio-oil and bio-waste. Bio-oil and bio-waste mean that localized incomes can be possible. Now, my ideal is, and there's a lot of ways I could be wrong with all of this, but one of the advantages of localized infrastructure, instead of relying on long lines of infrastructure and commerce and resource, is that you can take small places, and you can have sustainable industry in those places and have it survivable. As long as you've got a national import tariff to protect small places, and you have a rule against anti-corporatism, and you have a rule against industrialized farming and agriculture, like ConAgra and all them, sorry, I almost got off track. You can actually go ahead and have a localized infrastructure. Now, the problem is that when you've got gay versus black, you're not really addressing the problem. What you need is affordable gentrification for not cultural, but multi-ethnic. That's the solution. More videos to come on this.